1977 season, and for good reason, because the Huskies had all the potential in the world. But no one would have dreamed that Washington would really win the Pac-8 Conference Championship and play in the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. It was a football season that Husky fans will be talking about for years. Husky football 77. The year of the Roses. The Huskies opened at home against tough Mississippi State of the Southeastern Conference, and it turned into a fumbling afternoon for both teams, with the Bulldogs coughing up the football 6 times and the Huskies recovering 3 of them. But the Huskies had problems moving the ball once they had it, and Steve Robbins came on to kick 4 field goals, but it wasn't enough, as Mississippi State wins it 27-18. The Spartans of San Jose State checked into town the following week, and it took the Huskies just 5 plays to pick up enough points to win it. Joe Steele breaks to the outside, breaks through a couple of tackles, and roars 63 yards for a touchdown. Warren Moon throws for another touchdown. Ronnie Rowland scores on a 6-yard run. Steve Robbins adds a field goal, and the Husky defense puts together a tough afternoon as Washington wins it 24-3. Then it was on to rainy Syracuse, New York, for a muddy meeting with the Orangemen of Syracuse. Sophomore fullback Ronnie Gibson of Everett puts on a pretty good running show, picking up 23 of his game-high 67 yards up the middle. Warren Moon overcame a slippery football to complete 16 of 25 for 257 yards and 2 touchdowns, including this 25-yarder to Spider Gaines, who came up with 7 catches for 169 yards. But it wasn't enough as Syracuse wins on a last-second field goal, 22-20. The disappointed Huskies then traveled to Minneapolis to take on the Minnesota Golden Gophers. And things began to fall into place for the Huskies, with Warren Moon throwing down the middle to Spider Gaines. And with the help of some pretty good blocking, the junior from Richmond, California, runs around and through just about everyone on the Minnesota roster to score as the Huskies dominate play in the first half. It wasn't just the offense that was playing well, as the defense put on a show of their own, with sophomore Doug Martin, number 73, making one of his 10 stops of the day. Warren Moon, who threw for 151 yards and rushed for 26 more, calls his own number. With the aid of a super fake, goes in to score. But for the second week in a row, the Huskies lose on a last-second field goal, this time 19-17. The Huskies, with an unimpressive 1-3 record, move into Watson Stadium in Eugene to open conference play against the University of Oregon Ducks. And what a conference debut it turns out to be, with the Huskies dominating play and taking advantage of every Oregon mistake. Kyle Heinrich finally recovering the loose football for the Huskies. The Huskies then drive to the goal line, where Joe Steele goes in to score behind a good block, and the route is on. The Husky defense has never been better, with junior linebacker Mike Jackson leading the charge. And before the Oregon Ducks can pick up a first down, the Huskies lead it 24-0. The Husky defense even gets on the scoreboard against Oregon as sophomore inside linebacker Bruce Harrell crashes through to block the punt for a Washington safety. Warren Moon has another big afternoon, completing 10 of 17 for 142 yards, including this beauty to junior tight end Scott Greenwood, who caught 7 passes for 120 yards and a touchdown as the Huskies smashed the Oregon Ducks 54-0. A big crowd greets the high-scoring Huskies when they return to play the Stanford Cardinals. And it turned into a tough afternoon for Stanford's All-American quarterback Guy Benjamin, as the Husky defense, led by senior Dave Browning, were all over him. Browning, incidentally, played in the Hula Bowl and the Japan Bowl. The Husky offense quickly moves the ball into scoring position, with sophomore Joe Steele taking the pitch from Warren Moon and diving in to score the first of 6 Washington touchdowns against the Stanford Cardinals. Warren Moon, who was voted the co-player of the year in the Pac-8 Conference, shows off his throwing ability with this 26-yard beauty to Spider Gaines for 6 more points for Washington. Then, in a matter of minutes, the Huskies just explode, with Joe Steele, the sophomore from Blanchette, taking the pitch, cutting to the outside and roaring down the sideline as the Huskies put on one of the great scoring shows in Washington football history. Joe Steele races 83 yards for the touchdown, outsprinting a couple of Cardinals along the way as he finishes the afternoon with 177 yards on the ground. But it wasn't just the offense that was thrilling the crowd and the players. No, the defense had a show of their own going, with sophomore defensive tackle Doug Martin throwing the Cardinal running attack around at will. The Stanford Cardinals are forced to kick away the football, and that was another mistake, as the Huskies' all-conference cornerback Nesby Glasgow shows why he led the Pack-8 in punt returns as he finds a wall set up on the near sideline. And then with linebacker Antoine Richardson, number 48, leading the way, Nesby Glasgow will weave his way 73 yards for another Washington touchdown. But the Huskies aren't through yet. Second-team All-American center Blair Bush, number 58, opens a big hole, and sophomore fullback Ron Gibson breaks into the open and roars 59 yards for a touchdown. Gibson averaged over 8 yards a carry against the Cardinals as he rushed for 138 yards in the game. And then to cap off another high-scoring afternoon, Guy Benjamin will have this pass picked off by sophomore Greg Grimes, and he'll race 29 yards for another touchdown as the Huskies all at once look like the best team in the Pac-8 Conference as they crush Stanford 45-21. The high-scoring Huskies almost run into more than they can handle the following week against the Oregon State Beavers. Trailing 3-0 at the half, the Huskies finally get rolling as fullback Ron Gibson finds a big hole up the middle, goes in to score the go-ahead touchdown in a tough defensive struggle. Oregon State tries to counter the touchdown in a hurry, but big 255-pound Doug Martin is right there along with Dave Browning and Cliff Bethea to knock the Beaver quarterback down for a loss. The Husky defense comes up with another big play minutes later with Mike Jackson, the all-coast linebacker, and Doug Martin forcing the Beavers' John Newman to throw into a crowd. Nose guard Cliff Bethea comes up with the first interception of his career. Warren Moon then wastes no time putting the football game out of reach as he throws deep to his favorite target, Spider Gaines, who'll go in to score as the Huskies win their third straight, defeating the Oregon State Beavers 14-6. And that's worth a leap and a jump anytime. The unbeaten and conference-leading Huskies head south for a crucial battle with the UCLA Bruins, who need a win to stay in the Rose Bowl race. And it turned into a frustrating afternoon for the Huskies, who did everything but score a touchdown. Warren Moon will throw deep to Spider Gaines on this play, and Spider comes up with one of his 4 catches of the day, but he can't keep his feet to go in to score. So the Huskies have to settle for a Steve Robbins field goal as Robbins, the senior from Wenatchee, kicks 4 this afternoon to tie the conference record. The Bruins' Rick Bayshore goes to the air to try to move the ball against the Husky defense, with senior Wayne Moses there to pick off the pass, one of 18 Husky pass interceptions during the season. The Huskies desperately need a touchdown as Ron Gibson fights his way into the open, races for 25 yards down the sideline before finally being run out of bounds at the UCLA 7. But the UCLA defense holds, and despite another Steve Robbins field goal, the Bruins win it 20-12. With a pretty good depth in their Rose Bowl plans, the Huskies stop in Berkeley on their way north to meet the California Bears in a must-win game for both schools. Trailing 21-17 at the half, the Huskies take charge during the second 30 minutes of play and turn the game into a one-sided affair. The Bears try to move it through the air again on this play, but the Huskies' brilliant inside linebacker Mike Jackson from Pasco is there to pick it off. Husky quarterback Warren Moon is quick to take advantage of the defensive play. He calls his own number and keeps around the right side and goes in to score the go-ahead touchdown. 3 plays after the touchdown, the Husky defense comes up with another big play as linebacker Bruce Harrell steps in front of the intended receiver and picks off another California pass to put the Huskies in scoring position again. Warren Moon quickly moves the Huskies toward the goal line. He fakes right, then hands to Spider Gaines on the reverse. And the former Pac-8 hurdles champion shows off his speed as the Huskies make it look easy, with Spider finally stopped on the goal line. Warren Moon then dives over the middle before being knocked back as the Huskies move out in front of the California Bears 31-21. The Husky defense has a field day in the second half against the Bears, with junior free safety Kyle Heinrich charging through to knock the Bears for another loss. Warren Moon is right on target against California. He completes 11 of 19 for 207 yards, including this long bomb to his big tight end, junior Scott Greenwood from Ellensburg, who comes up with 5 catches during the afternoon for 112 yards and sets up another Washington touchdown. The Huskies will then call on junior fullback Rob Smith from Hoquiam to score as the Huskies bomb California 50-31 to move right back in the Rose Bowl race. The Huskies play host to the USC Trojans on homecoming weekend at Husky Stadium before 59,000 plus. And what a football game it turns out to be. Early in the second quarter, the Huskies break on top as Warren Moon fakes inside to Joe Steele, then keeps and bolts into the end zone for a touchdown to put the Huskies out in front. And Husky Stadium goes wild with excitement. The Husky defense also rises to the occasion, and the Trojans try to get back into the game, but the Huskies' outstanding defensive tackles Dave Browning and Doug Martin are right there to drop Rob Hurdle for a loss. Leading 7-3 at the half, the Huskies get on the scoreboard early in the third quarter. Warren Moon throws to Spider Gaines for 19 yards, and the two are letter perfect as the Huskies continue to play the best football in the Pac-8 Conference, much to the delight of the Husky players and their fans. The Husky defense again forces the Trojans to give up the football. This time, senior co-captain Mike Rohrbach comes busting through to block the punt and give the offense another opportunity to score. And that's exactly what the Huskies do as Joe Steele somersaults into the end zone and Husky Stadium just explodes with excitement as the Huskies realize they're a step closer to Pasadena. Joe Steele rushes for 106 yards against the Trojans as the Huskies defeat USC 28-10. The largest crowd in Husky football history, 60,964, turn out on a cold afternoon to watch Don James and the Huskies battle the Cougars from Washington State. And the Huskies, who need just a win to assure themselves of at least a share of the conference title, are all but unstoppable as Joe Steele takes this throwback from Warren Moon in the 7th play of the game and races 33 yards for a touchdown. The Husky defense is all over the field as Doug Martin deflects this Jack Thompson pass and is almost picked off with the Huskies' brilliant linebacker Mike Jackson before he slips out of bounds. Warren Moon, directing the Husky attack to perfection, throws down the middle to his tight end Scott Greenwood, and Greenwood will not be stopped as he goes 30 yards to score on the slippery turf. And the Huskies know they're unstoppable this Saturday afternoon. The Washington State Cougars mount a drive in the second quarter, but the hard-hitting Husky defense knocks the ball loose from Dan Dornick, with Bruce Harrell diving in to recover the football for Washington. Warren Moon, who went 12 for 18 for 159 yards and 3 touchdowns, caps off a super season by throwing to Joe Steele for 6 more points as the Huskies defeat the Cougars 35-15 to win the Pac-8 championship. A week later, USC defeats UCLA, and the Huskies are on their way to the Rose Bowl for the first time in 14 years, where they meet the Wolverines of Michigan. Michigan is a solid 2-touchdown favorite over Washington, and their outstanding quarterback Rick Leach tries to move his team in a hurry. But Mike Jackson, who has to be one of the best linebackers in college football, almost picks it off. And Michael Jackson can't believe he let the football get away. The Husky defense holds, and All-American John Anderson is back to punt. But the pass from center is low, and Anderson puts his knee down, giving the ball to the Huskies at the Michigan 49. And the Huskies are quick to take advantage of the mistake. Warren Moon drives his team to the Wolverine 2. We're on 2nd and goal. Warren fakes inside, rolls to his left, looks to pass, then keeps and dives in to score the first touchdown of the game. And following Steve Robbins' kick, the Huskies lead 7-0. The Wolverines then drive into Husky territory, where the Washington defense rises to the occasion with Bruce Harrell and John Curley knocking Stanley Edwards down for a loss of 2. On the next play, Rick Leach goes back to pass, but Kyle Heinrich on a safety blitz is all over the junior from Flint, Michigan, and stops him for an 11-yard loss. And at the end of the first quarter, the Huskies lead 4th-ranked Michigan 7-0. Early in the second quarter, the Husky offense moves into high gear with Warren Moon, who completes 12 of 23 for 188 yards, hitting Spider Gaines, who is wide open down the middle for 62 yards and another Washington first down. But the Michigan defense, one of the best in college football, holds. And Steve Robbins comes in to kick a 30-yard field goal to make it 10-0 in favor of Washington. Steve Robbins, who is the leading place kicker in Husky football history, kicks deep to Dwight Hicks on the Michigan 11-yard line. Hicks will look for some running room, but the Huskies' Jeff Leland then comes up with the hit of the game. You watch. Michigan can't move the ball, so the Husky offense has it again, with Moon hitting Spider Gaines for another first down after a penalty nullified a Husky touchdown. Senior Ronnie Rowland replaces the injured Joe Steele and comes up with an outstanding afternoon, including this 11-yard gallop through the Wolverine defense. Warren Moon then moves the ball to the goal line, where he powers his way into the end zone behind a wall of blockers as the Huskies lead 17-0 in the second quarter. Rick Leach moves the Wolverines to the Husky 31, where he'll fumble the football on an exchange, and the Huskies' Dave Browning is right there to fall on the ball to stop another Michigan drive. With time running out in the half, the Huskies face a 4th and 7 at their own 33. So what do? They have their freshman kicker, Aaron Wilson, pass the freshman running back, Kyle Stevens, and the little guy from San Jose, California, almost goes all the way for a touchdown as he gains 46 yards on one of the most talked about plays in the Rose Bowl. So at halftime, the Huskies lead the Wolverines 17-0, and 40,000-plus Husky fans at the game love every minute of it. With the east side of the Rose Bowl, a sea of Husky purple and gold. At the start of the third quarter, Michigan picks off a Warren Moon pass to set up the best Husky goal line stand of the season. After Davis makes only 2, he'll come back, this time on the left side, to pick up 4. Now on 3rd and 4 at the 5, Rick Leach will call his own number. He'll keep the football, and Antoine Richardson and Scotty Long are there to make the stop on the 3. Then on 4th and 2 at the 3, Leach comes up with a good fake, but the Husky defensive line is ready. The play is stopped for no gain, and the ball goes back. And on the sideline, Bo Schembechler of Michigan can't believe. The Huskies then put together the best drive of the game with Joe Steele back in the lineup, and he comes up with a brilliant 13-yard effort for a Washington first down. The Huskies call on Joe Steele again on 3rd and 4, and behind the super blocking of Tays, Bauer, Bush, Foreman, and Westland, they open a huge hole in the Michigan line, and Steele, who picked up 77 yards against the Wolverines, gets 20 of them on this play. Warren Moon then calls in his favorite target, Spider Gaines. Spider beats the Wolverines deep and is wide open. The pass is right on target, and Spider takes the ball in full stride for a touchdown before crashing into the wall, and it's 24-0 in favor of Washington. Michigan quickly scores on a long pass, and they kick off to the Huskies. And Kyle Stevens then thrills the crowd of 105,000 plus with a 53-yard kickoff return as he again almost goes all the way. Kyle Stevens was about a block away from a game breaker as he gives Washington great field position again. Again, Michigan rises to the occasion defensively. The Huskies call on Steve Robbins to kick a 28-yard field goal, tying a Rose Bowl record for field goals and putting the Huskies on top 27-7 at the end of the third quarter. Then with darkness settling in, Michigan scores a couple of quick touchdowns to make it 27-20. 1:21 to go. First and goal at the 8. Leach throws to Edwards. The ball is intercepted by Michael Jackson on an incredible play for the University of Washington. The Huskies can't move it, however, so Michigan has one more chance to win it, with Leach throwing deep to Clayton with 32 seconds left on the clock. But Nesby Glasgow is there to pick off the pass. Then Nesby will take the hardest hit in the game from a very happy Michael Jackson. Warren Moon, who was voted the player of the game, knows that all he has to do is run out the clock, and the Huskies have their first Rose Bowl win since 1961. The clock ticks off the final seconds, and Husky fans go wild as head coach Don James, the college coach of the year, gets the traditional ride to the locker room. The win over Michigan caps off one of the great comebacks in Washington football history. And with 18 of the 22 starters back in 1978, plus 81 of the 90 players who made the trip to Pasadena, there isn't a Husky fan anywhere who won't agree that the glory years have returned to Washington football.